Americans of Reddit, what is something you didn't realize was typically American until you went abroad? Having your drink constantly refilled at restaurants. I just wanna drink a ton of water, alright. Or ice in your water. A single piece of ice that is barely the size of the tip of my pinky finger is not ice with my drink. Garbage disposals in sinks. When I moved to the UK, my flatmates asked how in movies people would stick their hands in the sink drain and it be ripped apart. I told them about garbage disposals and they were very weirded out. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Who knew a comment about garbage would be so popular? Red plastic cups for parties. So much so that people outside us use them as an accessory to American themed parties. Yeah. I've always called them the American cups since I've never seen them where I live. But always saw them in college high school themed movies. I doubt this is restricted to America in any way. But when I studied abroad in the UK, the lack of public drinking laws was a bit of a culture shock. Being able to walk outside with a bottle of beer was very freeing. Edit. Turns out I need to visit New Orleans. Having plenty of free bathrooms around for the public to use. It absolutely blew my mind when I was in a train station in Paris and had to piss like a racehorse and there was a damn gate turnstile in front of the bathroom I needed to put some euros in to get in. They even had an attendant standing by it. Once I got in, it was just as standardly gross as any other public toilet. If I'm going to pay, the least they could do is make it fancy and nice. When I went to Australia, I found out very quickly that no one down there roots for a team. They go for a team. So when I said I root for the Red Sox, I got a lot of weird looks. Rooting means ducking in Australian. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. There's a big shortage of water fountains once you leave the US, I've noticed. Edit. I mean the ones for drinking. Sorry. I let a colloquialism get the best of me. Around where I'm from, we just call the decorative ones fountains and the ones you drink out of water fountains. This is only kinda related. But if you're ever in Rome, there are public water fountains everywhere along the side of the street, not the big fountains in squares and stuff. They look like a pretty normal water pump. They are all completely drinkable. Free public restrooms. When I visited Europe, I thought it was the strangest thing that you had to pay to use a public restroom. Not an American. But I can always spot Americans at the airport because they take off their shoes at security even if it's not required. Portion sizes. My high school senior trip to London. As a typically ravenous appetite 18-year-old, I couldn't get over how small everything was standard. My Canadian family had the opposite problem. I'll take a large soda. Holy shit, this is a bucket. Dressing like shit to do stuff like grocery shop. Went to the Netherlands for about 2 weeks. And we never saw anyone dress in comfy shit. Like, everyone looked nice. Everywhere. At all hours. You catch me walking through a Walmart at 3 AM. And I'm wearing old PJs. Whatever shirt I happen to exist in. And I'm probably not wearing socks. I was quite surprised to see students come to the library in their PJs when I attended an American university. How large grocery stores are here. My wife is not American and we lived in China and were in HK all the time. They had large international stores that were great and she didn't really grasp the size of American grocery stores till our first week in the USA, and there's 150 feet of cereals on one aisle. I was struck by the extent to which nobody talks to strangers in Northern Europe. Even in big cities in the US. People will talk to each other sometimes in line. On the subway. etc. Not deep conversations. But it isn't weird to make casual conversation. You should come to Ireland. Find out someone's full life story just because you're walking the same direction as them. And then you never see them again. Love a good chat, we do. Being friendly to an extent. I checked in at a hostel and walked into the lounge area where people from all over the world were just chilling. I kinda introduced myself to the whole room. And someone goes, "You're from the States? Yeah?" And I'm like, "Yeah, how do you know?" They said, Only an American will walk into a room of strangers and introduce themselves to everybody. Reading some of these comments. I want to clarify something. It was said in good spirits and was not confrontational at all. After the room had a laugh, I sat down and we all shared our travel stories. I still keep in touch with a lot of the people I met in that room. My British friend makes fun of me for how much cheese I use in my cooking. Doesn't stop her from inhaling my potato casseroles. But there you go. As a Brit in the US, I was shocked at the amount of cheese in nearly everything. It's virtually impossible to get any kind of sandwich that doesn't automatically come with a slice of cheese in it. Oh, and the bread in the supermarket is sweet, but most Americans don't notice it. I thought that was just messed up. Buying stuff and the cashier putting your items in a plastic or paper bag. Went to Germany and found it strange they don't bag your items. Everyone just brings their own bag or dumps their stuff in a backpack. It's a European law that shops aren't allowed to give away plastic bags for free anymore because they harm the environment. Massively wide roads lanes. The whole of Ireland made me feel claustrophobic. But when I got back home, the roads felt like way too much wasted space. Measuring walking driving distance in blocks. It's the unit of measure I use most frequently when giving directions. The restaurant is 3 blocks away. Go south 1 block and then 2 blocks west. I live 6 blocks from the grocery store. It wasn't until I studied abroad in England and got a complete blank look when I asked someone how many blocks away the library was that I realized using block as a measurement only makes sense in cities that were largely pre-planned and built on grid system. AKA, not many places outside the US. It is a Japanese culture to always greet someone as a sign of respect, but I feel uneasy that Americans sometimes looks at you and do a half smile while not saying anything. 24-hour stores. It's weird not being able to buy random shit at 4 AM. Some places in Europe have good 24-hour stores, but some countries don't. Cold drinks. Every European country I visited, the drinks would best be described as cool, but definitely not cold like in the US. I found an English pub in Portugal that served ice cold beer and had those steel cold strips along the bar counter to keep the drink from warming up fast. That became my spot. The stereotype about us being loud is true. I never thought of myself as being loud until I went abroad and would hang up the phone after speaking in what I thought was appropriate volume to find everyone around me was staring at me. And realized how much more quiet they were, lol whoops. Road trips. At least just jumping in the car and driving a few hours without giving it much thought. I live in a large western state and it seems at least every other weekend my family and I were in the car traveling for a few hours to see some sight. Go into Mexico or another state. I have relatives in Switzerland and they were going to drive us to the Frankfurt airport and I was blown away how big of a deal it was to them. My uncle had the car inspected, shopped around for gas, and printed off travel and weather reports. All for a trip my dad would have said, hey, let's do this weekend. In the car, kids. Ask any soldier after multiple deployments what one of the most remarkable things about America, and it would be massive grocery stores. Prescription drug advertisements on TV. I feel any prescription drug should be illegal to advertise. The ads say ask your doctor if this medication may be right for you. Duck that. My DR should tell me if I need it. Keeping AC on 100% of the time in the summer. Visited Madrid for about a month to see the exchange student we housed, and found that they typically only turn on AC at night to sleep or when it reaches a damned 105 Fahrenheit. Eating a burger and fries with your hands. I just assumed everyone did this. I went to Sweden with my boyfriend and we stopped at a burger joint. Small local place. When the chef heard we were American, he immediately wanted us to try a specialty burger he made and tell him what we thought about it. They were all excited when we picked it up with our hands and we realized everyone else in the place was using a fork and knife. Burger was 11/10. Edit. Since this is a popular question, I'll add the answer here to avoid repeating myself. I was in Kristianstad. So southern Sweden. The restaurant was somewhat upscale and was definitely not a McDonald's fast food equivalent place. Hope that clears that up. Water pressure. Why all showers are like a flower watering pot. I like to feel my shower. Make the pressure strong enough to tear my skin off. Then back it off like 10%. I grew up in the US and moved to Europe about 10 years ago. I learned quickly to get out of the habit of smiling or saying hello to strangers on the street. I didn't understand why people found it so off-putting at first. Because I thought I was simply being polite. A European friend explained that it comes across as phony, untrustworthy, and puts people on their guard. It can still be hard sometimes to shake the feeling that I'm being rude by not smiling at everyone I pass by. Getting to choose from like 50 different types and subtypes of sodas. Hearing commercials advocating you to go to the doctor and demand a prescription for whatever fantasy pill is new to the market on the radio like it is no big deal. Here in the States, pregnancy announcements reveals baby showers are mainstream, but it's generally a big no-no to bring it up in Kenya. My mom found out the hard way. Essentially, asking someone when the baby is due is the equivalent of asking the person when did you and your husband duck? Which is considered extremely rude. The lady my mom asked was gracious about it but said if we were not such good friends I would have slapped you. I am not American but visit the US a lot, and I tell you, almost all Americans have this habit of giving the half smile look to anyone. That is not just normal anywhere else. The prices abroad don't add tax after the fact. You pay what the price shows. No need to figure the tax. Dumb that we do that here. Going out to a restaurant. In America, you are seated aside. And then they bring you drinks. Appetizers. Entree. Dessert, and then check as quick as they possibly can, if it's good service, for a total time of 45 minutes to an hour and a half-ish. Staying past this time is seen as a bit rude. In Europe, going out to eat seemed to be more of an event that you slowly enjoyed for a longer period of time. First, they bring you drinks and an appetizer for the first hour. Then the second hour is the entree and dessert. Then it's more drinks for another half hour or so. I don't know if it's because we were American, but it seemed like the wait staff everywhere we went was annoyed that we were rushing them, when we just thought it was bad service and didn't understand the routine. How are you? Being used in place of hello even with strangers. In the US, how are you needs only to be replied with good. You? Almost as a way of saying hi. Elsewhere people don't really know how to respond when a stranger asks how are you? How you doing? Or how's it going? Ice and drinks. Yep. At a nightclub in France, they had a single small bowl with ice cubes from the refrigerator to plop into cocktails. On a flight back from China, I asked for ice in my water, and they used tongs to pluck up and drop into my water one piece of ice about the size of a grape. I did an art history course in Italy. What really stood out to me was the size of cars over there. Over here you have a mix of mid-sized sedans and pickup trucks, SUVs, with the occasional compact car. Back when I went, compact cars here were incredibly scarce. Over there, it seemed like most everyone drove a compact car, with the occasional sports car. I remember counting 6 pickup trucks in the 10 days I was there. For comparison, I can name more than 6 people I know with a pickup here. How colorful people dress. In pretty much every European country I've been to, people dress with really neutral colors without big logos or graphics. In America it's pretty common to have people dress in bright colors or have a shirt with a cool graphic on it. Europeans dress pretty fashionable, but they aren't very expressive when it comes to clothing. How fat we are. I know we are when compared to the rest of the world, but it made me realize what I think is fat in the US is grossly obese in Europe, and what's not fit, but not fat in the US, is fat as Europe. There are some ham hogs over there, but my god. Returning home was an eye-opener. At least we don't smoke as much, I guess. Small avocados. Went to Puerto Rico. Was like, yo, I'll have like 6 of those stuffed avocados. Buddy was like, "Yo gringo. I think you underestimate the size of our avocados here. Just have one and it'll be in you more if you want after." I had half of one. It was like a football. Huge amounts of personal space. I know everywhere has the concept of a personal bubble, but for Americans, it's more like a personal iron curtain. Now I can't unsee the lengths that Americans will go to be far away from other people. Next time you get on an elevator or a metro in America, look at how perfectly spaced out everyone is standing to maximize the distance to other people.